So I think I'm going to have something very exciting to show you guys here on the farm this morning. Morning, Toby dog. Is it happening? Good morning, teenage chicks. So is it happening inside here, Toby dog? Want to come inside with me and show me? So I think Rosie, who's probably my favorite weird chicken, is starting to have some babies. And Toby, you're going to be an uncle again. Let's take a peek and see what's going on underneath there. Oh, I see at least 2 of them so far. You see that? Oh, one of them is going to be an absolutely beautiful chick. You've done really good there, Rosie. I'm so proud of you. But I don't think she's really pleased with me, so let's check back in with her tomorrow. I wonder how many more are going to hatch. All right, Toby, we're going to check back in with you 24 hours later. Come on, Ebbs, let's go. Thank you for your walk. It sure is a foggy one this morning, isn't it, Abby? Good girl, Abby, good girl. Don't worry, it won't be long before you're back outside. Yeah, Abby Dog's leg is healing up quite nicely, so thank you to everybody for all the well-wishing and concern. It won't be long before she's back out here patrolling the grounds with Mr. Toby Dog. So as you can see, it's all healing up pretty good. I just don't want to have any risk of it getting infected again, and so we are taking our time with Abby Dog. Speaking of Toby Dog, good morning, Mr. Toby Dog. How are things doing with our newest addition to the farm? You know, it was funny, over the course of yesterday, watching Toby Dog stand guard over the new Silkies inside the house, it's like he knew what was going on inside there. It's one of those reasons why he's such a remarkable dog. All right, Abs, you're going back inside. Inside. You be a good girl. Yeah, the idea that Abby would be an obedient house dog just totally blows my mind. I would have never expected that. Hey, Mr. Toby Dog, you want to go see what's going on in there? Let's go. He's so gosh darn excited about this. It's like he's a proud papa himself. All right, hold on, buddy. Hold on. You can come on up. Hey, Rosie, how's it going in there? Looks like you moved off your nest finally. So I guess you're done hatching. I'm really curious to see what's going on underneath you in there. So at this stage of the game, now that she's actually moved off of her nest, we do have a final count for how many chicks hatched, as well as how many chicks won't hatch. And so I'm very curious to see what's going on here. Hey, Rosie, can I see what you got? Whoa, easy there, girl. Looks like she's got 1, 2, 3. So 3 little babies there. Look at that. She's got like 2 blackish gray ones and this kind of white striped one. Wow, that one's really cool looking. Good job, Rosie. Wow, I am so impressed. Toby Dog, aren't you impressed? I think she did a wonderful job. So now the chicks that Rosie has in here, all 3 of those chicks are her chicks. So the way that this nest was developed was actually kind of on accident. You see, a couple of weeks ago, I actually noticed that Rosie had disappeared. And I was starting to get a little worried about her, but I also assumed that she probably disappeared to go create a nest. As far as I know, this is actually the second hatching that Rosie's ever done, because last year she hatched a handful of little baby chicks too. And so the idea that she would sneak off and try to make her own babies is not shocking. I had actually originally found her nest over in here, but decided to locate her inside this nesting box just to give her a little bit more space, as well as protection and warmth for the birds. As far as places for her to pick and try to settle into, this is actually a pretty good one. So this structure actually used to be the old duck house. But then last year I actually retrofitted it and I moved the ducks over into the hoop coop, and that's where they now live in the winter months. And Toby Dog and Abby Dog get to use this structure as a dog barn in the winter months. But the reality is right now in the summer months, they don't even use it. Like, I haven't seen Toby Dog go inside that building without me like he just did a minute ago, probably since like late April. Once the weather's nice, Toby Dog does not like to be inside any sort of structure whatsoever. And he actually spends most of his time sleeping underneath the dog barn. That's actually where his den is. You can even see all the little holes that he's dug. I think it's because it's shaded and it's nice and cool. And so as soon as I realized that Rosie was settling inside the duck house or dog barn to make it a nest for her chicks, I ended up just throwing a couple screws together on this piece of plywood And it basically, what it does is it blocks the dogs from going in without me wanting them to, as well as keeping Rosie from coming out. My intention is to have Rosie and her chicks actually spend the next month plus living inside of here. Let the chicks grow up and develop and get big enough to be moved out to the rest of the weird chicken flock. It'll keep the chicks protected from the elements, as well as some of the predators on our farm. Like, for example, Mr. Pablo Barncat here, I bet would love to get a taste of one of those little baby chicks. And so having that board there will keep him away from Rosie and keep the chicks safe from him and Molly and Ginny, and probably Abby too. So do you understand that, Pablo? You are not to go inside of there. Now, in terms of my plans for those new weird chickens, my intention is to actually have them move into here. And so yes, they would end up joining the weird chicken flock, but only if they're female. Good morning, weird chickens. Hey, look right here. So this is the proud papa. He is the father of all 3 of those little baby chicks. And actually, genetically speaking, Rosie is the mother of all of those chicks as well. You know, sometimes the chicken will sit on a nest of eggs that are not their eggs, but because Rosie snuck away from the rest of the flock and started laying that nest in there, that's why I know they are all only her eggs. And now some folks might wonder, why didn't I try to like take some eggs from my other silky chickens and have them try to hatch? Well, the reality of that one is I didn't necessarily think that that would work out. You see, timing wise, Rosie seemed to get about a week's head start on me before I even noticed that she was sneaking away. And so I didn't know the ages of those eggs versus these eggs. And so that's why I didn't even bother trying to import a few extra eggs. Hey there, Captain Janeway. That said, I have been trying to actually establish a nest inside here with the other silky chickens. I think because I have that one clutch already now, I am gonna give up on this batch of eggs that are right inside of here. All the old bad eggs become pig food. So I know for a fact that none of the chicks are Bet's chicks, none of the chicks are Lavender Brown's chicks, none of the chicks are Captain Janeway's chicks, none of the chicks are Rosette's chicks. And now for those who are wondering, yes, Rosette is actually Rosie's daughter from last year. What's interesting is, genetically speaking, right, her father is not Mr. Frizzle. Her father was actually Penny, one of our black silky roosters that we had last year. And now what's really interesting though is I have a very cool case study of genetics and like recessive and dominant traits that are existing in here. So for example, with Rosie, she's not a full silky chicken. I think she's actually what's known as a satin chicken. So it means she's already half silky, half, you know, some sort of other bantam breed. What you'll actually notice is Rosette's father, if we go back to footage from last year, you'll see that he was also a satin. And so Rosette, she actually expresses her feathers. She actually looks more silky because there are all of those silky genes, both from her mother's side and father's side, passed on to her. Mr. Frizzle, on the other hand, he is actually pure silky. And so, you know, my thought is that when it comes to their genetics, like this is gonna be an interesting test case to see who ends up with silky feathers and who ends up with regular ones. Because if you look at like a chicken breeding genetics chart, like the one I have here, right? So the H+ represents a regular feather, the H lowercase represents a silky feather. So now because in Rosette's case, you had an example of H+H, H+H, so that'd be like Rosie and that'd be Rosette's dad. Rosette actually ended up in this scenario right here where she's a lower H, receiving both of those recessive genes from her mother and father. So now in the case of those new chicks that hatched, you have a father who has 2 silky genes represented by the lowercase h, and then you have a mother with an H+ for the regular feathers as well as a lowercase h as a carrier. And so what that means is you're going to have a 50% chance of being pure silky and a 50% chance of being a hybrid. And a lot of folks might have questions about those silky feathers. And when you look at silky feathers underneath the microscope, they're very different because number one, they are a recessive gene trait, like I was saying, and the regular feather is actually the dominant trait. But then number two, it's not a sex-linked trait. So I don't know if it's male or female that we're going to have here. When it comes to the coloring of those chicks, I actually wonder if I'm going to have a situation where that white chick is actually the rooster and the 2 black ones are going to be hens, and maybe that's a sex-linked thing because the father is white, and I believe the white is a recessive gene, and I think that there's a decent chance that that white, as well as like that striping,
that might be a sex-linked characteristic, and that could indicate that it's male. Or based on everything I know, it could be the other way around, and the two black chicks are the males, and the one white chick is the female. Quite honestly, not knowing how this one's gonna play out, I'm gonna make my pick right now that the white one is a male and the two black ones are female. Over the course of the next month, month and a half, I will be able to figure this one out, and once we know who's who, we'll be able to actually make some judgments and see if I was wrong or not. So stay tuned for that one in a future video. And also, for those of you wondering what makes a silky chick's feather silky like that, like why does it look like hair, not like a feather? It comes down to the structure of the feather itself in terms of the barbules on the feather. And so if you look at a normal chicken feather, it kind of looks like this, but then when you look at a silky chicken feather under the microscope, it looks like that. And so quite honestly, that's how you get that feather type that ends up looking more like hair than feathers. But the reality is, and you can even see this with our girl Bet here, she still has regular feathers underneath her. She's not hairy. And then these things that look like hairs are feathers too. Hey, take it easy there, Betty. Bet is like the sweetest, most chilled chicken, but I swear if she was left in a free range situation, she would get eaten within a matter of hours. Down you go, girl. Okay, I'm coming for you guys. Don't worry, don't worry. Don't have to yell. You know, Toby Dog's doggy door had worked so well all summer, but it seems like ducks are starting to figure out the secret behind it all. Yeah, it seems like both Ron Swanson and now Puddles have figured out how to get out through the doggy door, because I feel like I'm finding them out there every morning. And then they follow me back here when I come to feed everybody, but then by the end of the day, they're usually down by the pond. I don't know, you do what you can do. Look at that. Look at those two little ducks. Those aren't my ducks. Oh, those are some wild ducks that have been crashing the party. Yes, our farm has definitely taken on a very wild element to it, and I'm here for it. I just saw something over here. Oh no. Holy smokes, what is that? Oh no. I have no idea what that is. It's not one of my birds. I'm not exactly sure what type of bird this is, but I am pretty certain that it strangled itself in my fence here. I got to admit, I don't think I've ever seen a bird like this, and I'm trying to identify it. It doesn't even look like it's in my current bird pack in my bird app. Well, I work on trying to identify what this bird is. I'm going to pick it up and put it in this bag, and I'm going to contact Fish and Wildlife. Whenever you have something like this happen, particularly when it's a weird or not normal bird, like I actually think it's important to alert Fish and Wildlife, and I might call them up and they might not even care, but in my opinion, I think it's worth contacting over. You know, like I said, I am pretty certain that that bird just strangled itself in my fence based on the way it was positioned, how it was, the fact that that happened in the last 24 hours or so. So I don't think it has a high risk of avian influenza. I gotta say, it doesn't necessarily seem like a bird that I would typically find around here, and so I feel like it's worth checking in, both in terms of what type of bird is it, as well as alerting Fish and Wildlife. So based on everything I've been able to put together between looking at photos and my bird IDing app and everything, I think the species of bird that just died was an American bittern, B-I-T-T-E-R-N-S. It's like a mid-sized member of the heron family of birds. They're really known for hanging around like freshwater marshes and wetlands and that sort of thing. And given the fact that we have a gigantic cedar swamp back over there behind the barn, as well as the fact that our pond has been really just flourishing this summer, I mean, I guess it would make sense that it would be around here. Particularly in Vermont, they're most known to be seen around this area. They are apparently very elusive, and while at certain points their populations were more threatened, they've been bouncing back over the last couple of years. But even still, I feel like crap because that died because of my fence. I mean, there's no other way to look at that. That bird died because of the fence, and I don't think there's anything I could or would have done differently. It just sucks, and sometimes that's the way the world works. Speaking of things that suck, I
had a little mishap with my farm bike the other day, and it is now out of commission. You know, this e-bike has been far and away my favorite equipment purchase of 2023, but unfortunately, I actually hit a pretty heavy bump off a rock earlier this week, and the front fork of the bike just cracked. So I reached out to the company, Rusher, who sent me this bike, and they're actually in the process of sending me updated forks, but it's kind of a bummer that that happened. This e-bike really has become my favorite way to get around the farm, and yeah, she's hurting right now. But don't worry, I'll be back to farm biking real soon. Good morning, crew to moo. How's everybody doing? Water trough looks like it's almost totally refilled. So our Shade Mobile 3.0 continues to work out really well. I'm still not loving the wheels that I have on it, but everything else about it has been pretty great. I think I might try one more redesign of the wheels before we get into the fall. But I'm really pleased with this design overall. Hey, Kels, come on, Kels, fresh grass, come on. Hey, Kels, come on, Kels, fresh grass, come on. Hey, Kels, come on, fresh grass, come on. Going, baby bee. Good job, Amanda. So I just moved to fresh pasture with the chickens last night. Morning, girls. Hey, Black Francis. Okay, I know you're probably mad at me because I didn't top off your feed last night. Fresh feed for the girls. You know, looking at these girls, there's a lot of diversity in genetics here too. I intended to hatch out a bunch of chicks this year, but I had too much on my plate and just decided to push it off. And so probably next year I'll do a big chicken hatch with the birds we have here on our farm. I definitely want to keep Black Francis on as my rooster. I'm not nearly as sure about what I'm gonna do with the Moron brothers, but next year I definitely plan on breeding these girls up here, along with these girls down here. Yes, these birds are my next generation of layers, but I think if I commingle them with my existing flock over the course of this winter, they will make for a very, very interesting set of parents that will create future generations on my farm that are going to be quite unique. In terms of genetics, I mean, we have some more Bielenfelders, we have Rhode Island Reds, we have Barred Rocks, we have Cochins, we have Salmon Favorolis, and we have the American Breast Chicken, which is primarily a meat bird, but can also act as a dual purpose bird. And so that variety of birds mixed with the birds that I have up on the top of the hill will make for some very interesting offspring next year. But while next year will be interesting, I am still very excited about what we have going on this year here. Hey, Rosie, can you get up for a second so I can clear your eggs out? I want to get rid of the old eggs. You can have this nest back and you can have your babies and go completely undisturbed. But I'm just going to need for a minute to take you out here. Oh, look at these little ones. Don't worry, little ones. Here, you can wait up for mom. Whoa, 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 easy. Easy, mama. I'm just trying to take out the old eggshells here. Here's your last one back. Okay, we'll leave you alone, Rosie. You're a very, very good mom.